Punpun is a manga that scared me like no other form of media has. Not in the spooky fear factor department, but in the sense of me being able to relate to it. Way deeper than you may think. And no, this isn't a cry of help or anything, but a wake-up call, as this is the story of what could happen to any person who places his self-worth into crushes, family, or apparitions, when in reality, it should come from within. And this story highlights the dangers of what could happen to you if you find your identity too late in life. In this video, I will be covering one of my favorite mangas of all time, Goodnight Punpun, specifically talking about Punpun's life, as there are many different characters to talk about, but in this video, I want to focus my efforts all on him, but we'll skim over the other characters as they overlap his life. Drop a like, and strap in for a long one. The story starts with Punpun at 11 years old, in the 5th grade. He's upset that his crush, a girl named Mayo, was moving away, only for his class to get a new girl, Aiko. And for Punpun, it was love at first sight. Aiko would then spot Punpun on their walk home from school, and they would walk together. They discuss their essay that they have to write for class, and it discloses what they want to be when they get older. Aiko wants to be a model or an actor, and Punpun doesn't know, but he was intrigued due to her ambitions. He later gets home, and as his dad is watching baseball, he asks for a beer, which they have ran out of. This causes an argument between the dad and the mother, leaving Punpun standing there, which tells us that for him, it's a regular occurrence. Punpun decides to pray. His god, also known as Afro God in the fandom, is essentially Punpun's intrusive and strong inside voice. He asks him why his parents don't get along, but Afro God tells him to stop asking for the same thing he's thought of so many times. His dad comes in with the telescope he bought for Punpun as a present. After showing Punpun the stars and how to use it, Punpun decides to study space as a passion, showing how much influence his dad had him at a young age, even with the prior panels explaining his interest in baseball due to his father. Though, remember, his sole purpose for finding a passion wasn't for himself, but Aiko. The next day, Punpun walks into the kitchen to find his house trashed and his mother knocked out next to a toaster. His abusive dad blames it on robbery. Later, the police interrogate him, and then we're introduced to another important character in Punpun's life, Yuichi. This is Punpun's uncle, and he starts living with the family after what happened to Punpun's mother, also being the one that taught Punpun how to pray, which is ironic considering reasons later. After having to miss school for a day, Punpun comes back seeing how popular Aiko's gotten. Everyone's already read their future career essays, so he's up now. Punpun gets nervous that his peers will make fun of him if he talks about space, so he decides to tell his peers that he wants to work a normal job instead. Punpun, now embarrassed that he lied, hides in a bucket. Aiko finds his original paper and reads it, finding out about his real dream. She finds him and calls him a coward and tells him to stop trying to please others. She brings him out, and they share a moment inside the gym. And it's after this that Punpun believes that he was fated to be with Aiko. Punpun and his uncle go to see his mom in the hospital. She has no words for Punpun, signifying the gap that him and his mom have, with Punpun even wishing that she doesn't come home anytime soon. He asks his uncle when his dad will come home, but Yuichi doesn't know the answer to that. Punpun at school would then lose his innocence by looking at magazines with his classmates. This in turn makes it harder to speak to Aiko in class now that his mind is ruined. He avoids her, but thinks of her, until she eventually pops up next to him while he's recovering from a knee scrape. She tells Punpun that she loves him. She mentions to Punpun that she wants to go somewhere far away one day, and that she only cares about him and wants him to only think of her happiness. This was a lot for Punpun to handle. Later, Punpun's friends come to his house when no one's home and decide to watch X-rated content on his TV, only for it to be interrupted by a man who put a hidden message in the content saying he killed his whole family. He states that he struggled to find a true meaning in life and doesn't know if he made the right choices, and tells the kids he hid all 3 bodies in an old factory nearby, and says by the time someone sees the tape, he will have left the world. The kids don't think anything of it right then. Then the next day, a strange lady comes to the door as Punpun is watching the food. She tries to sell Ryuichi some overpriced water, getting him mad because she claims he looks unhappy, and tells him that her water will make him feel better, and attributes it to her religion. While this is going on, Punpun can only think about his dad and when he'll return, and he's starting to feel lonely. Afro God tells him to ask Yuichi, but he's still out front arguing with the lady. She tries to call upon her god for Yuichi's happiness, but he cracks and yells there is no god, revealing how Yuichi truly feels about religion, and with Punpun standing next to him, hearing it. And not only that, the girl standing next to the loud lady was Aiko, revealing the crazy lady to be her mother. She runs, but Punpun chases her. She's mad because Punpun lied to her about where he lived, and she thought of him as someone who never lies and goes back on their word. Aiko tells Punpun that she wants no one in the school to find out about her family due to how obsessive her mom is, adding to why she wants to run away. He clings to her and tries to reassure her he'll be there, and she says that if he breaks the promise that they'll run together, she'll kill him. Punpun later stumbles upon his friends, and his other friends discuss wanting to find the bodies of the killer in the tape in order to get 1 million yen. They all decide to go to the miso factory. All Punpun could think about was finding the money so Aiko wouldn't kill him. While they're at the bus stop, a group of girls with Aiko comes up, and as they ask questions, they don't want to reveal what they're doing, so they tell them they're just going on a ghost hunt. The girls leave, but Aiko stays behind in order to be with Punpun. Punpun's friend Seki says he knows a way around the factory area due to his dad, who was now an alcoholic and was low on money, but back in the day, he knew the owner of the factory. They stumble upon a girl who often plays at the factory to escape her abusive father. She tells them not to stay after sunfall, and that the owner of the factory committed suicide by arson, foreshadowing the coming events. Punpun, ready to leave the factory, keeps trying to find the bodies with everyone else. Eventually, they get tired of looking and decide to try one more building. On the balcony, they all see the silhouette of what looks like a man. This causes panic. Aiko falls as the others run. Punpun tries to pick her up, and she gets hit in the head with the pole, knocking her out. A cigarette that Seki lit earlier was dropped, and it causes a fire. Punpun, still up with Aiko, has his short life flash before his eyes. He thinks about all the times he had with Aiko and his family, though most of his family memories are bad, like his uncle screaming that God isn't real, or a new memory revealed to us here that his mom was regretting marrying his dad, and if the driver didn't stop her, she was going to attempt to drown herself along with Punpun while he was still young. I like how the story right here fully contrasts his memories of family and how he views Aiko. You can really chalk it up to Aiko being his peace in life compared to what happened at home, but looking at it even further, it also shows that if you don't have the proper support at home at a young age, you get easily attached to others and form personality traits based on what accommodates those people that are closest to you. And in this case, it was Aiko. You see this time and time again after Punpun tries to further his ambitions just to make Aiko happy, which is okay for now because he's young, which is okay for now because the feeling is mutual, but will it always be okay to solely live your life for another? Punpun wakes up from the flash with his friends around him, and it's now night. Rain had took care of the fire. The kids leave, sharing a glimpse of the stars. Later, it was time for summer break. Punpun's uncle Yurichi gets a call that Punpun's mom fell from the stairwell at the hospital. This ended up with her leg being fractured, but the doctor said that she could return the next day. This keeps Punpun in a state of hurt, as he believed his mom would stop his escape plans with Aiko. He wasn't scared to show it either, with him not even smiling at his mother's return, making her angry. Punpun spent the whole summer thinking about Aiko, and eventually, came to an end. When he returned to school for the next semester, Aiko gave him the silent treatment. After school, Punpun would follow her, crying and apologizing for not going off with her over the summer, but she didn't want to hear it and left. This leaves Punpun in a distraught state, but on his way home, he sees his father roaming, and they finally talk after what happened to his mother. Punpun missed his dad and is engaged in the conversation. His dad comforts him about what happened with Aiko and tells him he's going to America because he's going to be a test pilot for NASA, an obvious lie based on past actions. And then he tells Punpun he can see him whenever he wants, which is another lie, but Punpun picked up on this one. Though, before he leaves, he tells Punpun that he loves him, and this would be the last time Punpun sees his father for a while. And once again, the story teaches us another lesson, being that even morally left people can play a huge role in someone's life. When Punpun gets home, the lawyer and his family tell him that he will now go by his mom's last name, signifying the complete separation of his family. Punpun storms out his house in sadness and wishes people would stop treating him like a kid. He goes to school after hours and walks around, wishing he was a bird so he could fly, and it's never explained why the author drew them as ducks, but after reading this bit, it makes me wonder if it's symbolic to how they were depicted as ducks in the story, because Punpun wishes he could fly here, and ducks can fly, but not as high as other birds, and not for as long. He returns home, and his mom tells him to stop leaving her alone. Then he goes to sleep on the couch. 2 years go by. Punpun's now in middle school and a part of the badminton club. It's revealed he hasn't talked to Aiko once in 2 years, and she's dating a boy on the club by the name of Yaguchi. This ate Punpun up, and while he's in the bath, his mother gives him a letter from his father. It states he's been working as a night guard in his hometown, which is different from what he told Punpun before, which should tell you there's something off with the letters. The next day, Punpun skips practice but runs into Yaguchi. Punpun has a negative outlook on who he might be since he's with Aiko, but come to find out, he isn't so bad, even giving Punpun a drink on the way home. The next day at school, Punpun finds Aiko crying about something Yaguchi said, and before she storms off, she smiles at Punpun, which confuses him. He has a talk with Yaguchi later, and he reveals that once he mentioned Punpun to Aiko, and about how they met the day prior, Aiko cried, and he takes this as a sign that she truly likes Punpun and not him. He doesn't give up on Aiko though, and tells Punpun he wants to make her happy since she always has a sad expression on her face. Punpun then admits that he likes her to Yaguchi, and he tells him that if he loses the next tournament, then he can have her. And while this is going on, in the background, Punpun's uncle Yuichi is getting close to a girl he met at a cafe named Midori. She's also the same girl who was once a nurse for Punpun's mother earlier on. And I'm highlighting Midori's introduction to the story because soon she'll play a major role in Punpun's life, but obviously not as important as Yuichi's life, of course. And speaking of Yuichi, skimming over his backstory and where his source of trauma stems, at the age of 28, Yuichi worked as a ceramics teacher and one day is introduced to a young 16-year-old girl. He gives her lessons and they begin to talk, and despite the age difference, related on different aspects of life, with them both asking and pondering if God was real, and Yuichi even taking the technique he taught to Punpun on prayer from this young girl. He agrees to go out with her one day if she stops skipping school. One day while they're out talking, it's revealed that her mother is crazy and ties her up at home. The young girl had to get an abortion due to a teen pregnancy and feels like the world hates her. Yuichi brings her home and she tries to sleep with him. Yuichi, though very lustful, manages to turn it down long enough for his girlfriend to get there. The young girl hides in the closet, and Yuichi gets off to the sick fact that he's about to do it in front of a young person. And his current girlfriend was mad at him because he kept her waiting for marriage, and it's been 5 years. After this event, he goes to try to return to his normal life, but it doesn't sit right. She asks the girl's mother if it was true that she ties her up at home, but she ignores him and asks Yuichi on a date. Moments before, a man by the name of Washio kills her. The 16-year-old girl used her body to seduce the man into killing her mom, further pushing Yuichi into a distrusting place with the society around him and God, especially since the girl, after committing a heinous act, called out to him. He soon had to quit his job and broke up with the girl he was with at the time. And even after hearing all that, Midori was here for him. Punpun, waiting to see the results of Yaguchi's badminton match, sees Aiko and they have a stare-off. This leads to them being in the stands talking for the first time in 2 years, and Aiko asks why do people fall in love with each other. She's afraid of being alone and wants someone that will throw away everything for her, because that's what she's willing to do. She states that if she can find the person who's willing to have this level of closeness with her, she would be fine if she died right then. Aiko says that Punpun understands her, but Punpun only halfway can at this point. He just knows he likes her. Soon after this, Yaguchi's foot injury that he wanted to keep secret takes over and causes him to lose the match. He tells Punpun that he won before they carry him out. This makes Punpun upset. Aiko asks Punpun if he's going home, and he tells her he's sorry about years ago and the fact that he didn't run away with her. She smiles and tells him it's okay before asking him to run away again and extends her hands. Punpun, still caring about Yaguchi, puts his feelings aside and tells Aiko she should comfort him instead and leaves. Yuichi introduces Midori to the family as his girlfriend, and she stays in the house with him. She tells Yuichi that Punpun looks similar to him. Punpun goes in his room and is still sad about what happened at the tournament with Aiko. He goes outside and recalls he wanted to study space, and now thinks of it as childish, highlighting at this point of the story that his interests have changed and are starting to dull over time. And this is the same with other characters in the story, with even the most important characters to Punpun at this time, like Aiko, not caring if she was an actor or not either. Punpun will later reflect on his current place in life, in his room. He had no girlfriend. Due to domestic violence, his parents got a divorce, and now his mother drinks all the time, and most nights he can hear his uncle and Midori having intercourse through the walls. He sleeps outside and hopes his days get better soon. Another 2 years go by. Midori and Yuichi are still living with Punpun's mother, and she decides to give the house to them. At this time, Yuichi has been absent from the house for a week without warning. Punpun has passed his high school entrance exams moving forward, though he isn't impressed with his efforts. The only thing he wants to do is have sex for the first time. It stated that he didn't have any regrets, but also wasn't happy with his middle school graduation. He felt no emotion. He later goes to Midori's cafe. They sit and talk for a while, but due to Yuichi's absence, she breaks down crying. They walk home with each other, and she discusses stars. Then they go home and play the game together. Eventually, Midori gets tired. As Punpun tries to put a blanket on her, she grabs his hand and asks him to sleep beside her for the night. The next morning, the movers clear out the house for Punpun and his mom to leave. Punpun follows Midori to help her with the cafe and some shopping. This leads them into a conversation that quickly turns sour, as Midori admits that Punpun isn't good at cheering people up. She asks him to come closer and lays down, cuddling him on the couch, reminiscing on how Yuichi had an affair with the 16-year-old girl. With Punpun in this moment being close to that age, at around 15 now, she tells him that she feels like she failed to change his uncle, and eventually reaches for his pants. And in this moment, this would mean that Punpun got what he wanted, which was to have sex, but not in the way you would probably think. With Punpun being a minor here, as well as this being non-consensual, and also taking his virginity, which means he lost the last little bit of innocence he had. Midori used him for how similar Punpun reminded her of his uncle, not just mentally, but also appearance-wise. Punpun leaves without saying a word, and given my own two thoughts here, this really sucked because when I read this for the first time, I really, and I mean really, like Midori as a character up until this point, especially as a female character compared to the others we've gotten in the story so far, with mainly just being Aiko and Punpun's mother. And while I'm not the type of person to judge a character by one deplorable act, even though most will, especially this act of all things, I just couldn't help but lose respect for her here. And the story doesn't really give her a chance to redeem herself later either. Punpun is now in high school and doesn't think he fits in. Acknowledging that he's losing his identity, he thinks that sex will fill the void, a common mistake most his age make. A girl named Connie approaches Punpun and asks if he wants to leave the party with her. You can see that at this stage of Punpun's life, his appearance changed to have longer hair, which I believe to be gelled, showing the change of the times. After walking home with Connie, he asks her if she wants to do anything fun sometime, and she agrees. When Punpun is at home, his mother tells him that their grandfather passed away. They go to discuss the funeral preparations with Midori and Yuichi, leaving Midori and Punpun alone while his mom and uncle talk. It's revealed to us that his uncle finally came back and finally married Midori, and he came back right after the day Midori and Punpun had their unfortunate affair. And with this news, all Punpun could think about while they were talking was what happened on that day. She gives him a small necklace as a gift, and all Punpun could say was congratulations, and leaves with his uncle staring at him from the window. Later, his mother asks him why he's always so gloomy, and has an outburst telling him to stop always being the victim and to stop being bothered by everything. What she doesn't understand is that he doesn't open up to her because that's something she reinforced in him ever since he was little. So it's hard to shake it now, even if she may be trying to do better. All Punpun can look forward to is his date with Connie, but not in hopes to actually get to know her, but to fulfill his lustful desires, which his mother happened to also try to fill the void with at that very moment. It's after this little moment that she gets sent to the hospital due to loss of breath. While she's there, she reflects on her life and finds a boy named Harumi, who was Punpun's childhood friend back in elementary. They get close, and she tells the boy she resents Punpun due to how close he resembles his father, and feels like he's inheriting all their bad traits. The doctors have to treat her again, and she has surgery, and on that day, Punpun goes out with Connie instead of being at her side. After walking around with her for a while, Punpun does everything to try to make the date go right, but they silently agree that they're just not meant for each other. The whole point of the date was for Connie to bring Punpun to an art exhibit that involves her sister. Her sister happened to be friends with an important girl that Punpun meets, and her name is Sachi. At the exhibit, Punpun stares at a painting of the stars and reflects on his life, making him think about all the friends from the factory trip, and he questions if he's been wasting his life away. Sachi appears beside him and tells him this is the picture that she painted. She's happy Punpun staring at it intently, and asks him to leave a comment in a journal about what he thought. Punpun doesn't know what to write and acknowledges that he's grown into a dull person, but he settles to write about what he knows best, and writes about how the painting made him think about Aiko and his chase to make her happy, in a more metaphorical way than this though, using the word galaxy and taking out the real names. Connie approaches him and they leave together. The chemistry between them still isn't really there, and Connie wants to leave, but Punpun, with the urge to get some action, asks her to stay. After this, he still can't muster up a conversation, so Connie gets up to leave again. Punpun, still wanting her to stay, tells her not to leave, and Connie tells him their mothers might be worried. Punpun tells her that his mother's having surgery and won't be able to interfere. Connie, confused at the fact that Punpun isn't with his mom, questions him, and Punpun's rocky relationship with his mother shows in his words, with him not feeling any sympathy towards his mom. This confuses Connie and makes her label Punpun as selfish. He tries to make a forceful move on Connie despite her being repulsed by his attitude and lack of chemistry with him, and she's able to get him off with a smack, leaving Punpun alone. He then thought about what would happen if Connie exposes him for trying to R her. Punpun's mother returns from surgery and has an outburst due to Punpun not welcoming her home. At school, Connie doesn't open up about Punpun's actions that night and even speaks to him in passing. The narrator of the story tells us that Punpun's high school days weren't characterized by bullying or bizarre, but being subject to living his life very plainly. And it's here on the rooftop that Punpun starts to believe there is no God and decides to never fall in love again. Another 2 years pass, making Punpun around 18 years old. His mom now has cancer and lies on her deathbed. She pulls Punpun close and acknowledges their horrible relationship and admits she wasn't the best parent, but as he's in her arms, tells him that she loved him. But despite this, Punpun still cannot love his mom. Being at the house with Yuichi and Midori, who grieved his mother, he received a paper stating that his mom was the one behind the letters that he received every month that were supposed to be from his dad, meaning his dad never was in contact with him. They get a knock at the door, and Punpun's father comes in to visit them for the first time in years. As you would have guessed, the chemistry is off, But Punpun doesn't take offense to the fact that his dad left and came back randomly when his mom died, but he feels like he doesn't feel anything because he's dulled as a person. Punpun's father suggests that he goes and lives with him, but Punpun says he wants to live alone. His dad leaves, and Yuichi takes Punpun on a walk. He reassures Punpun that life is what you make it, and to make sure he has responsibility for his own actions. He tells Punpun that Midori told him what happened between them, and tells him he's not upset by it. Yuichi informs Punpun there is no useless moment in life, and as long as you try and push forward and gain new understanding, you will remain yourself and can change yourself as a person. This shows that Yuichi, while not the most perfect person, has become more content with his life within the past couple of years, furthering him as a character. And it also makes me stop and consider that even though Punpun may have not had the best upbringing, it's not like he didn't have people around him to try to teach him lessons of life. But being willing to understand and listen to the message being presented is a choice, which we see time and time again throughout the story so far, that Punpun can't comprehend the broader messages in life that may have helped him out of a slump, because he only looks at things through a very narrow lens. He only goes off of emotion and loses track of his moral compass when things don't go his way, which he doesn't see as adding to his dullness. Punpun has graduated from high school and now works a part-time job. As soon as he enters a train, turns around and sees Aiko for the first time in years. He gets off the train to find her, but she's nowhere to be found. He assumes by seeing her once that Aiko is doing great in life, and this pushes him to get his own place, and he hands over his mother's savings to Midori and Yuichi. The room that he decides to live in, a man reportedly died in. While he's in the room, he thinks of it as a room that him and Aiko will live inside, placing more happiness in a person he hasn't seen instead of himself. He lays on the wall and listens to a couple loudly argue through the wall. With this in the background, Punpun decided that in 2 years, when he would go to renew his room contract, if his life hasn't changed, he would kill himself. Punpun's illustration goes through a change, turning him into a triangle. I like to think of this as him being on the verge of completely giving up in life, but trying to bottle it all up to hide his malice from others. Him and his landlord share a drink, and that's when a drenched Sachi comes in, who was the girl that made the painting of stars that Punpun stared at a while back. She introduces herself to Punpun, then she remembers that they met 3 years ago. She tells Punpun that Connie has now moved off and is living alone at a university, and asks him what he did to bum her out that day. Of course he doesn't tell her, and says the way she speaks is so blunt, it makes him want to leave because he's uncomfortable. As he tries to leave, Sachi grabs his arm. She tells Punpun that she never thought she'd see him again, and the story he wrote in her notebook for the art exhibit was so impressive to her that she asked him to continue it and collaborate with her since she's an illustrator. Sachi is able to see through the story as a cry from Punpun's childhood, setting her up to be a pretty perceptive person for Punpun. Punpun reverts back to a duckling, showing her compliments made him happy. He ends up getting wasted drunk and starts venting about his life, though Sachi can't make up anything he's saying, and what he's trying to say is not to get too involved with him, but he blacks out. When he wakes up, he's at Sachi's place, becoming a triangle once more. When she wakes up, she tells Punpun she's going to take a shower, but to stay with her for breakfast. But Punpun leaves while she's in the shower, creating an excuse. All he can think about is finding Aiko, and everything else to him seemed dull. Sachi ends up finding Punpun the next day after work, and they go back to her place. She talks about how she had to help him, but he can't focus on the conversation due to lustful thoughts. She cooks for Punpun, and they sit down, and she tells him he can change the TV. You can tell that Punpun is comfortable for the first time in forever, because he starts opening up, telling Sachi he isn't good at talking to others, and he has a low self-esteem and confidence. Sachi tells Punpun he can make his own confidence, and not to be fixated on every little thing, and says that she's not sensitive, so Punpun can tell her anything. Punpun tells Sachi the truth that he masturbated to her while she was sleeping, revealing his perverted nature, and Punpun tells her that he didn't have to go meet a friend, but left her house of his own accord. Sachi looks at him and laughed, telling him he doesn't have to open up that much. The small gesture from Sachi made her my favorite character. Not the fact that she takes something so weird that was told to her and makes it flattery, but as here as a reader, you realize that Sachi is really a person for Punpun, a person that can help him see his potential, and most importantly, a person that can bear the weight of his problems. Sachi asks Punpun about writing his story again. Punpun says that he can't do it, but Sachi determined tells him he can't run away from his problems forever, and he shouldn't try to do everything alone, because this hurts his potential, and life is too hard to do it alone, which we can also see as a core part of why Punpun struggles the way he does. Punpun opens up about his plan to find Aiko, going as far to say he will look for her until the end of the 2 years, but not telling Sachi about the suicide. She once again sees through him, saying he's using Aiko as an excuse to live his dull, quiet life and be unproductive, and that it's a shallow effort, hinting that he still wouldn't be able to be happy, even if he found her, but still gives Punpun suggestions on how he could find her, even though she wants Punpun to let go of the past so he can live a brighter future. Hearing someone tell Punpun the truth makes him angry, Sachi tells him if he can give her the girl's name, she can find him in 3 days tops. And this shakes Punpun to his core. The thought that someone can make his life's purpose seem so small. He screams at her to stop. Sachi tells him to just die, confirming she knows about his true intentions. Sachi was able to see through Punpun in just 2 days. Punpun goes to leave, and Sachi gives him her number, and also knows where he lives. And despite Punpun not wanting to, she tells him that she looks forward to hearing his story. As expected, Punpun writes something for her, but she tells him it could be better and to try harder. When Sachi goes off for a moment, leaving Punpun alone with her friend tells him that Sachi has actually longed to meet Punpun for a while and tells Punpun to be there for her, and also tells him that Sachi's true passion is to be a mangaka, but she's lost her touch, but thinks that Punpun can reignite it. Later, Sachi consults Punpun's landlord about a new place to stay, since she has a stalker at work that knows where she lives. As they talk, the landlord turns to Punpun and asks him to work there part-time. He declines, but Sachi scolds him, and he decides to do it. This is right before the landlord's daughter comes in and scolds Punpun for being lazy and wanting someone to give him a job, and she's stressed about her father's actions. Sachi sticks up for him, however, telling her that she doesn't know what he's been through. Leaving, Punpun and Sachi share a moment. She tells Punpun that he needs to stop using his past to hold him back in the present, because it's the present that dictates his future. Punpun is comfortable with being stagnant because he's comfortable, but he tries to deny it, criticizing Sachi, saying she's self-confident because she has talent, so she shouldn't shame him. Sachi reveals that she got plastic surgery on her face to shut him down. She tells him that she used every method possible to become the way she is, from not eating to lose weight and studying to get into university, stating that she did whatever means necessary in order to reach her dreams. And I feel like this moment is a very core part of storytelling that the manga conveys about Punpun's life, and it's by showing what Sachi is. Punpun's major roadblocks and milestones are characterized by the women in his life, mainly due to him trying to fill a void with them. So the story uses this reoccurring theme with Sachi being a major representation. If Punpun's relationship with Aiko represents the past, then Sachi is the manifestation of Punpun's present and future, which is what Punpun's trying to run away from at this point in the story, which can also explain why him and Sachi's relationship is so rocky at the start. She cries and tells Punpun that no one should even think about helping him because of how he acts, but she won't leave him alone because she understands how empty he feels. This takes Punpun out of the triangle state again, making him a duckling. He tells her he's willing to write as many times as it takes, finally being motivated by her words. Then together, they see a rainbow. She tells Punpun that she's counting on him, and they shake hands. The summer starts and Punpun has been a big help to Sachi, with them hanging out frequently, and Punpun even getting good at real estate by helping the landlord. Punpun and Sachi decide to watch fireworks together, and when Punpun goes to surprise her by picking her up from work, he sees her walking with another man. This upsets Punpun and he shuts himself in his room, and after not answering his phone, Sachi comes into his place and tells him that wasn't her boyfriend, but her ex-husband. She reassures him that she doesn't talk to any other guys. This makes Punpun back happy again. As they go outside, Punpun tells Sachi that if she continues to treat him nicely, he will get the wrong idea and fall in love with her. This idea stuns Sachi, and she tells him that she's fine if he does. Later that night, Punpun tells Sachi that she reminds him of his mother, even though they didn't really get along that much. But I think this was a way of Punpun acknowledging that his mother's nature was a likable one. It's just that she chose the wrong partners in life. After this, it flips to Sachi and Punpun having intercourse for the first time. But during this episode, Punpun lets his past seep in, still thinking about Aiko, stopping him from being able to kiss during the intercourse. This makes Sachi feel lonely and sees that Punpun still has feelings for someone else. She tells him just because they had sex doesn't mean they have to be lovers yet, but she still thinks of him as an ally. Though after she states this, she pins Punpun to the wall, kissing him. Punpun and Sachi spend a whole year together, and while all is well, Punpun can't help but feel like it's a fairy tale. His past still haunts him, asking him how long he thinks the peace can last for. Another year passes, and Punpun and Sachi and his small friend group are quite comfortable with each other. Sachi scheduled an appointment with the publisher to see if their manga can get a spot. Meanwhile, one of Punpun's old classmates, Seki, runs into Aiko, and seeing her face as an adult, she still has the same sad but content expression like back in middle school. The publisher tells Sachi and Punpun that their story wouldn't sell well due to how simple the fix to the main character's problems are, which is ironic because Punpun wrote about himself in the manga. It doesn't end up going well, and Sachi leaves conflicted. Punpun goes home and doesn't speak to Sachi for a few days. When she comes over, he tells her that he feels like he's dragging her down. And while Sachi is a good person at heart, being upset by the recent unsuccess of her manga she spent a year drawing, her ego comes in telling Punpun that if she felt like it, she could win a manga award by herself, leaving Punpun laying there. Later, the landlord gets falsely accused of assault and tackled by the police. He quickly proves his innocence, but since he's old, the tackle leaves him bedridden, causing Punpun to lose his job because his boss is out of commission. After Sachi's saddened by seeing the state of the old man, Punpun tries to comfort her, but she doesn't want to be touched. telling him that he's only doing things like this to cheer her up, but doesn't have any clear intent behind what he does. Then when she tells him he should apologize, he does, making her snap on him again due to Punpun having no backbone and not getting that she's just upset. Punpun thinks back to how he promised to off himself near the time it is to renew his lease if his life didn't change. He came to the conclusion that life was good for a while, but in the end, he feels back to where he started. He goes a whole day contemplating suicide. When he returns home, he meets his next door neighbors as he's throwing away his things, and his name's revealed to be Takashi. Punpun has a strange thought, that what if the universe revolved around Takashi? So after that day, he throws away his identity as Punpun and tries to go by Takashi, even changing his appearance to fit his new identity. He talks to a girl and tells her that his name is Takashi, and it goes smoothly, and she asks him to wait on her. As she goes off, Punpun ends up sitting next to Aiko, and she calls him by his real name. They talk a little. She tells him that they go to the same driving school, and she's currently working as a model, which is what she asked for since childhood, even though we know her true goal, which was to find the person that loves her above all odds. She asked him to get lunch with her another day, and is happy he didn't change much. While they're having lunch, Punpun lies to Aiko and tells her he has a girlfriend. He thinks that just because she's a model, it would be easy for her to get a boyfriend, but she tells him it's not the case. But then tells him that she does have a boyfriend, but he's always away. Punpun comes to the conclusion that Aiko is different than how she used to be, and thinks of her as a regular girl now, not someone that has lingering traumas like him. Meanwhile, Sachi goes back to the editor herself, since Punpun and Sachi are no longer on speaking terms after their last fight. The story she writes gets approval, and the publisher tells her that Punpun was probably holding her back. The manga flips to Punpun acting as Takashi again, having intercourse with the girl he met earlier with his fake identity. Eventually he realizes how wrong he is, and he leaves her house. And with these events in mind, faking his personality, finding Aiko, the girl he's been searching for not seeming the same, his malice grows, giving him a dark look. Punpun looks in the reflection and no longer recognizes what he's become. He thinks back on Aiko and blames her for what he's become today. Despite this, he still goes to hang out with her, and Punpun tries to hold back his feelings. Even though Aiko knows his true identity, Punpun is still faking confidence by using Takashi's mannerisms. The night goes well, and conversation flows until Aiko decides to leave. She tells Punpun she wanted to see him again to clear up any weird air between them, and tells him she was a weird kid back then, and begins laughing. Punpun's bad thoughts seep in, angering him on how carefree someone he was stuck on could be. Eventually, Punpun lets it out, becoming controlling. Aiko wants to leave, but Punpun forces her to stay out with him, eventually going to a hotel. He forcefully tries to sleep with Aiko despite her telling him to stop. After repeating it multiple times, she's able to get up and leave. Punpun leaves being tired of everything in his life. He thinks about moving away, and as he walks aimlessly, he eventually finds himself at Sachi's house. He lets himself in, and sees that Sachi was able to get her manga talents recognized without his help. While he's laying on the floor, her ex-husband comes in, and it flips to Sachi and Punpun having dinner with him. He gets on Punpun and monologues and projects on him, similar to how the landlord's daughter did. Punpun and Sachi leave, and as they catch up, she tells Punpun that she's gotten pregnant, and by her ex-husband while her and Punpun weren't talking. Punpun asks Sachi if he's more important than her ex, and she tells him that he is, and tells him that he helped her become more considerate of others. Her ex-husband doesn't know about the baby yet, and she wants Punpun to go to the hospital with her if she gets an abortion. Punpun agrees, and she makes preparations for it. One day Punpun is walking and runs into Aiko. He apologizes for their last interaction, then opens up and tells her that everything that he told her was a lie. He doesn't have a girlfriend, and he's been searching for her for the last 10 years, and he still has guilt from their broken promise, but tells her that after all that, he was just glad to see her again. She turns to Punpun mocking him, saying that he lied again, and she should kill him, revealing that she remembers their old relationship dynamic quite well. She tells him she can forgive him this time because she's lied quite a lot herself, and said that she only did it because Punpun seemed to be doing well. She hugs him, and tells him she's been searching for him too. At this point of the story, it shows us that Punpun and Aiko didn't just get along prior due to Punpun having an attachment because of his home life, but that Aiko was in the same boat, even having a similar tone to Punpun, hiding her dull and brokenness under her smiles. And we can see this by how after her true nature is revealed again, her facial expressions are different from what we've seen previously, and now reflect her childhood. She tells Punpun that being a model was difficult, and she struggled to keep a decent smile, and updates him that her cult-like mother is still controlling despite them being around 20 now. While leaving, Aiko kisses Punpun, and he realizes he still can't get over Aiko, especially now. The next day, Aiko has a black eye, which is left up for us to interpret that her mom probably physically abused her at home late that night. Her mom's religion causes her to buy strange statues, and Aiko tells her that she wanted a better life, and is tired of her cult-like behavior. Sachi calls Punpun telling him that he doesn't have to come if he doesn't want to, but leaves it up to him and will still wait on him. Due to Aiko showing up at his door, he ends up not going. He only acknowledges her black eye for a second before telling her he wants to have sex. It's only after they're done do they ask if they love each other, with Punpun's consciousness saying the only lower place in the room was hell, showing Punpun isn't okay with his current actions, but still going on his impulses. As they lay together, she tells Punpun that she wants to run away, and gives him a reason this time. Her mother's abusive, and she feels like if she stays in the house any longer, it won't be good for her. Punpun was thinking about leaving soon anyways, and agrees but tells Aiko to at least tell her mom before she leaves, saying he will go with her to explain. Aiko tells Punpun that they should do it today and leave, wasting no time. As they leave in a taxi to go to her mom's place, Punpun thinks he was right, and Aiko was his fated person all along, but not before the story sneaks in 2 panels of Sachi, which at this point is foreshadowing. They enter Aiko's household, and her mother, which is the same woman that got into it years back with Yuichi, awaits them. Aiko cuts it short and tells her mother that she's going to leave with Punpun. The mother has a sarcastic tone and starts shaming Aiko for leaving her crippled mother behind. Aiko tells her that she will forward her money every now and again, and her faking understandings tells them to come sit down for some tea. Over the table, she brings up Aiko's mistakes and yells and hits her, spouting that she's a failure. Aiko tells Punpun not to answer any of the questions she may ask him because she'll only use it against him. Aiko tells her mother she no longer needs a family, and Punpun taught her she can take control of her life. When Aiko turns her back to leave, her mom tries stabbing her, creating a wound near her stomach. Aiko falls to the ground. She holds a knife over Aiko, and it sends Punpun into a rage, slamming her down. He sees a pair of scissors, and he proceeds to take Aiko's mom's life away, turning Punpun into a criminal, making it urgent that he run away now. At this point of the story, he undergoes another illustration change, growing horns, and I'd say the next moments of the story are very realistic. While dark, more realistic than any form of manga I've read. Punpun and Aiko stay in the house as he washes blood off his hands, and Aiko cries due to the fact that she just lost her mother. With Aiko now being a witness, it goes from Punpun being around her due to affection to adding to his more controlling side, because now he feels like if she doesn't hold up, he will get in trouble, also adding more guilt and paranoia to his already dull and sensitive personality. They sleep in the house with the body in it, then the next day, drop her off in some random woods. Punpun tries to convince Aiko that what he did wasn't wrong, and Aiko questions what even is right anymore, showing that both of them have a warped state of mind, with Punpun even going as far to tell Aiko that no one will care that her mother died. He then tests Aiko's loyalty, telling her that she can go snitch on him, but she will be left alone, and Aiko screams that she doesn't want that. And at this point of the story, Punpun is aware of his manipulation of another person, and uses the death of her mother to validate the fact that he was right, that he was a horrible person. Later, while in the room, Aiko has trouble sleeping, and questions Punpun if he was wrong for the killing. Punpun starts choking Aiko, telling her that he already knows that before he stops. Aiko is now questioning why does her life always have to end up like this. As they're on the side of the road, Aiko asks Punpun if he plans on killing her too, to which he tells her to get some sleep. As they keep traveling, you can see Aiko has a missing tooth due to Punpun's abuse on her. Meanwhile, Sachi, not wanting to admit it, starts to miss him and notices that he's missing and tries to ask around about him. Aiko and Punpun's relationship at this point is condescending, with Aiko depending on him past the point of no return, out of fear and habit, and Punpun knowing this blames her for his despair and wants her to feel the same way, mentally playing with her. As this goes on, Sachi goes into Punpun's house and finds a contact from Midori, finding where his uncle stays. She has a conversation with Yuichi, and him understanding quickly her true feelings about Punpun, tells her all he can about Punpun's true nature and his background, trusting her because he realizes too how closely she resembles his mother. Eventually, Punpun has fallen so low, letting his controlling nature show even in public. He soon plans to kill himself, along with Aiko. Sachi continues her search, even finding Punpun's dad, and hearing more about Punpun's life, comes to the conclusion that she must be the one that protects him. Punpun and Aiko end up going to the beach, and they have fun, playing together and laughing. But once all is said and done, Aiko picks up on the strange fact that it was going too well, especially considering Punpun's nature now. So she asks if this was the place that she was going to be killed, and he confirms this, and pulls out a rope. He tells Aiko this was going to be the only way she wouldn't be alone, because he planned to take his life from the very beginning. She cries because she doesn't want to die, and tells Punpun he isn't a murderer. Eventually he stops, and they lay on the beach until it gets dark. He prays to God, using the chant his uncle taught him, and tells Aiko he would be stuck on her forever. The next day, Aiko talks to some people and finds a place to stay and a job on the island, But Punpun robs her of her only dream at that point, telling her that they can't stay. Her condition worsens, with stab marks and bruise marks, but they're on the run and can't see a doctor. Aiko starts to distrust Punpun and thinks he'll kill her at any moment, and puts a knife to him, but he calms her down in his own sadistic way. In search for a clinic, they end up lost and wandering into deserted towns. They stumble upon an abandoned house and sit outside it. Punpun reassures Aiko that if they find a doctor and he gets arrested, he would take the charge and wait for her, becoming desperate, seeing how bad Aiko's gotten. They lay next to the abandoned house and share a moment. She tells Punpun years ago, when they seen the stars after the factory fire, she wished that they would fall in love again, and is happy that it came true, and says if they ever get separated to think of each other on Tanabata, which is a Japan holiday that takes place on the 7th of July. When Punpun wakes up, the day is July 1st at 2 p.m. Aiko is no longer next to him. He sees the straw hat that he gave her on the ground. When he walks around the corner, first he sees feet, then a hanged Aiko on the house. He picks her up and starts walking with her corpse. Giving my own thoughts for a second, this moment was a very sad moment, but I believe it was even more sad being able to know it was coming based on the actions of Aiko and Punpun leading up to this moment, with Aiko knowing that her health was only getting worse, and the ideal escape that she dreamed of was, in fact, impossible due to her mother dying and the increased tension and trauma of Punpun in their relationship. Punpun thinks about their ideal life together, and when it finally seeps in that after all this time, he would never get it, he wishes Aiko would have actually killed him. He would end up returning to the house to leave Aiko's body there, to which it would be later taken by the locals, and Aiko wrote on a slip of paper to never forget her, which by this point I'm sure Punpun won't. Punpun goes back and visits the factory that they visited when they were kids. He feels for the first time in his life, he has no regrets. In an attempt to end his own life, he stabs himself. In the story, the stars seem to have a powerful way of determining the fate in Punpun, as a motif of sorts. Sachi sees a shooting star and gazes at them, more than likely wishing to find Punpun again. And as Punpun lies down, bleeding after the stabbing attempt, deciding it was good night, Sachi appears right before him, waking him up, saying she will never let him run away again, for as long as he suffers, the stronger she'll have to be. When Punpun's in the hospital, Sachi is there caring for him, and tells him she will stay by his side, and shows Punpun a character idea for the manga, resembling the duck, basically revealing that we've been reading Sachi's story this whole time. Punpun's life, told by her lens, and we can see some of what Punpun actually looks like, though he's bandaged up. The detectives come to talk to Punpun as he's now a suspect for murder, putting his friends and family in a state of sadness. After this, a year passes, and it would mark the anniversary of Aiko's death for Punpun. He dreams of Aiko, and she tells him that she wants to keep moving forward, in spirit. He wakes up, reverting to his original duck form, showing that he's healing from the trauma, and he didn't go to jail for murder. Then at the end, Punpun is sewn with Sachi and her kid because she didn't go through with the abortion, ending off the series. Honestly, I've told only increments of my own thoughts in the retelling of Punpun's story, and I don't even know where to start. I won't say a lot though, because I feel like there's a lot of people that haven't experienced this wonderful story, and my takeaways might not actually be another person's takeaway. I feel like we can all take away something different, especially since manga is very powerful and everybody has their own interpretations. But I do want to say that this manga is one of the most relatable pieces of fiction I've ever consumed. And no, I didn't kill anyone or give in to despair, but I understand not knowing your identity and trying to place your self-worth in other people before you learn how to find yourself. Some people can find themselves quickly, and some people need another person to really show you how to love yourself, which in Punpun's case was Sachi. And I like how the story doesn't pull back any punches about the low points of life, because not knowing where to put your own 2 feet, you can easily be stuck in someone's shadow. And what I'm meaning is, life is what you make it. Instead of Punpun taking his traumas in life and pushing it towards something meaningful, he misused it and put it in another person. He realized even when he got what he's been chasing, it still wouldn't make him happy, because you can't chase happiness. It comes from within. As cliche as that may sound, you have to make yourself happy, because if you don't, your life will always grow stale and you'll become mad at the world. I was the same way at one point, not having many role models early on, blaming others for why I couldn't get ahead, until I realized it's on me to make a better life. And luckily for Punpun, someone saved him before life completely crushed him entirely. And the sad part is, for some people, nobody will come and save you, which is why you should always look forward and don't dwell on the past and negativity of the modern day. I'm gonna say it again, life is what you make it. And if you watch the whole video, bro, you are a trooper, bro. This video is way different from anything else on my channel. So if you want more videos like this, definitely drop a like. Definitely my most work put into this video that I've done in a long time. Definitely want to hear y'all's thoughts and opinions. And with all that finally being said, Good night, Punpun.